When I posted the first video about the firing of Pastor Ron Kelly, most of the people asked the question, why? But in the short video that he did not explain why he was fired. He just said that there was some misunderstanding and there are some things that he thought were resolved, but they were not resolved according to how he thought they were resolved. So as days are rolling, things are becoming clear that they fired Pastor Ron Kelly because he stood by Pastor Conrad Vine. And the reason why the sermon that Pastor Conrad Vine brought so much controversy was because he preached about the conferences that are not doing God's work. He touched the issue of tithe. And you know, in our church, when you touch the issue of tithe, even your name can be removed to protect the money. So because of that, Pastor Ron Kelly was put in trouble, and they wanted to force him against his conscience that he might side with them. But Pastor Ron Kelly, being the pastor of the church, the village church where Pastor Conrad Vine goes, he could not do that. So let's listen to the reason why Pastor Ron Kelly was fired.
I was handed a letter from our Pastor Ron Kelly. I am going to read it. I'm not aware of its contents, but I feel that he has the opportunity and should, as a member, to have his thoughts be read. Amen. So if you would indulge me a few more minutes, I ask for your patience. Dear church family, I have been accused of insubordination, bullying, and fomenting discord against the conference. Over the past 6 weeks, the strength of my disagreement with the conference has grown, and perhaps at times it has been too strong. However, it has been in private settings with other leaders, not before the public. It has always been my goal to save the church from the pain of today. Conrad Vine should have had and still should have his day in court. It was inappropriate to build a case against him and discipline him in his absence. I also should have been there as his pastor and shepherd. I was invited the night before at 9:20 in the evening and did not know that they intended to ban him. I have said from this pulpit that he should not have said some of the things he has said, but even this is an opinion, and I could be wrong. I did, however, cooperate with the conference and enforce a ban that I think was enacted under a compromised set of circumstances. The most notable being his absence and my absence from his trial. You can imagine my surprise when later I found out that the conference was not going to help us acquire our professional liability insurance to the medical missionary clinic until they knew where we stood on Conrad Vine. My stance had always been known, and it was still the same. I have said it in private, and I say it here again today. Until the denomination is held to the same scrutiny as Conrad Vine, there would be no discipline against this man while I am the senior pastor. Amen. I explained in private, and now I am forced to say to you in public, that withholding the liability insurance on another ministry until we change our stance on Conrad is wrong and is of the lowest order of I have said so in private, and I say so again here again. It is also an act of either ignorance or defiance against the movings of providence and of the saving of souls. The local church elected Conrad Vine through a vote of the entire church. As brief as the vote to affirm the work of our nominating committee may be, it is a business meeting session. The conference must recognize the duty constituted authority of the local church, even as we recognize theirs. Amen. I had no idea that my job was in jeopardy and was completely surprised when on Sunday, 1 week ago today, I was summoned to the conference office. I was told to be there by 11 o'clock and that I could bring my wife. This is administrative speak, and the transition is your life is about to change. I asked them for the charges against me in writing, and they said they would not. I said I would not come. Later in the day, I received a formal invitation via email. I relented and went. On Monday, it was explained to me that I was insubordinate and that I bullied people. It was also stated that previous disagreements that we had were not as resolved as I thought they were. I was stunned. How can a person fix a problem they did not know existed? On Tuesday of this week, 25 people of the conference committee sat in a room and discussed the allegations against me for 2 hours. I was not present to hear their stories and accusations. While I completely agree that the conference has every right to make a case that I no longer fit inside the culture of the organization, I do believe that before an action is taken, I have a right to hear my accusers. For them to align the thoughts and feelings of the deliberating body against me for 2 hours in my absence is a violation of the most basic elements of due process and justice. When I and my wife appeared before the committee, I was given 30 minutes to make a general statement regarding their allegations and that I was a bully and I was insubordinate. On the way into the room, I was told that I might also want to speak regarding fomenting dissent against the conference. For 38 minutes, I did my best to explain that I was not a bully and that even though I disagreed with how Conrad was banned, I went along with it and did not allow him to speak. I explained to them that no one paid a higher price for banning Conrad than I did, as my name and the ministry were discredited before the watching of thousands as a coward and company man. I told the committee that I was alleged bully and insubordinate. They should probably not send me to another district where they could experience same personal problems and would place them at a great disadvantage. I apologize for having interrupted people in some of our strained discussions over the last 6 weeks, and I left the room. Pastor Bryce Bowman, Pastor Page, and Dan Bakioki and Tony Minikis were allowed 5 minutes to speak. They pled with the committee not to do this, to find another way. Then they and several others from the village church left the room. For the next several hours, my prosecutors were allowed to sit with the jury and then finally became my judges. The committee took my advice to heart, and instead of moving me, as they originally planned, they voted to put me on administrative leave. My wife and I met with the conference on Wednesday at 2 p.m. The conference president struggled to tell my wife why I was being placed on administrative leave and then asked the conference secretary if he could do it. It made me sad to watch it all. I explained to them both that I would be making a final statement, that if they needed to fire me, they could do it right then and there. There was nothing heated or unpleasant about our interaction, and we prayed together and left. I am certain that along the way I have made mistakes. When they are brought to my attention, I have attempted to apologize for them. I am not two different men. Who I am in the pulpit is who I am at home and who I am among God's people. Amen. This, I believe, is the reason I am no longer your pastor. I love these men that have gathered here today. I hold no ill will against them, and I believe that our strong disagreements at times were discussions that they could handle. I also believe that I was obligated to have these conversations in order to discharge my duty as a fellow leader. My life motto has been, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another man's countenance. Proverbs 27. I have never spoken with them in malice in my heart, and today I have somehow done something wrong I am not aware of. I am open to hearing and understanding and more than willing to apologize. The leader of this church turned over tables, called people snakes, whitewashed tombs, and sons of the devil. He accused them of being children of darkness and pronounced woes on them publicly. It is not the passion or of discourse that makes it wrong. It is the hatred that dwells in our hearts. The best way I have found to keep my heart clear has been to speak frankly with your brother, to hold no grudge in your heart, and to suffer no sin on their account, and to love your neighbor as yourself.
Amen.
In my opinion, I am no longer your pastor because I follow the example and teachings of Jesus. I am speaking up because I have concern for my fellow employees who will remain on duty in this conference after I am long gone. The church is the body of believers, and they have formed an organization to serve the truth and to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly.
Amen.
It is here today for the church to decide if this is how we want to do business. On Friday, the conference communicated that the insurance on the medical missionary clinic has been worked out. And what about all the untold stresses and suffering that has ensued over their former pastor? It is all better now because I am no longer your pastor. That is for you to decide. My heart aches and I'm fighting back tears as I end this letter. I love everyone in this room, and believe me, we are capable of better things. May God bless you all as you dialogue today. You are in my prayers. Please make me proud of your pastor and show these men the respect they are due, even though I believe they have made grave mistakes. Love, your senior pastor. Amen.